We're outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. It is a 5:26 at the greater Phoenix area. This thing started at about 4:29.
So an hour.
About an hour. And it started with...
was it about 10 minutes of prepared remarks?
Yeah, there was a teleprompter.
Talking about NATO.
Correct.
Which nobody cared about.
And then he said his vice president was Donald Trump.
At one point he did, yes. He was talking about Kamala Harris and referred to it as Vice President Trump.
So right out of the gate, major gaffe by the president. I got to tell you, man, it's hard. It was hard to listen to.
Really? I didn't think it was that bad.
You're going to make my point.
Yeah, about a 6 out of 10, I would say.
You're going to make my point. This is the worst thing that could have happened because Joe Biden wasn't fatally terrible.
No.
But he wasn't very good either.
It was the best he's done since the debate.
It's not saying anything.
No, listen, it's a low bar. I'm not arguing that.
I just think, what is the decision that's going to be made now? Because he wasn't horrific like he was in the debate, but he certainly wasn't very good. When the first question you get, you flub and call Donald Trump your vice president, hard to get the room back.
Well, I also think this played into his strengths. He got to talk about foreign policy a lot. And he has, apparently at least, a grasp on those facts. I think this press conference was a political Rorschach test. It was either, for the fringes on both sides, it was awesome or a complete disaster.
I don't go by the fringes. I don't care what the fringes
I think it was somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
It was somewhere in the middle.
Well, that was my point.
Did he make gaffes? Of course he did.
It's not very good if it's in the middle.
He's going to make gaffes every day. Oh, no, I don't think this does anything to stop the calls for him to get out.
Yeah. But it also gives him maybe a few more days to work with.
Gives him a little more oxygen to say, but look, I stood on stage and answered questions for 45 minutes.
Yeah. All right. So a couple things here. So here's what I didn't like, and it didn't even have to do with Biden. Why are you reading off the teleprompter at the start of this? I thought this was a press conference.
I started with prepared remarks about NATO. Yeah.
I'm just saying, at a press conference, you're not supposed to have a teleprompter.
Well, he didn't for the press part. Yeah. I think you're
understand
splitting
that.
hairs.
I don't.
Every
I don't
press conference starts with, I'm going to make some prepared remarks. I'll open it up for questions.
I don't think he can remember what he was talking about, and he had to have it written down for him. That's number one. Now, number two, why are you only taking questions from a pre-approved list of people?
I don't think the questions were bad.
Yeah, but why aren't you
softball questions at all?
Why aren't you opening it up? It's like
to just have everybody scream the questions out?
Yeah, I mean that's how Trump did it, and it was a mess.
It's a mess, yeah.
I mean that's what I would have liked. I would have liked to see him pick people instead of have people picked for him. It's like it's like the White House.
Do you think he would do a different? You think he'd? Well, I don't understand.
It's like the White House saying that this guy, he's going to be okay. Let's take a question from him. This one, let's take a question from her. She's not too bad. That's kind of...
They do that all the time.
I understand that, but, this was supposed to be something like, I guess they called it a big boy press conference where it was shoot from the hip, that kind of thing. And it was somewhat controlled by the White House with the teleprompter and only certain people could ask questions. Again, they're trying to protect him.
I
that's
really
your opinion.
do.
That's fine.
I really think you're splitting hairs.
I don't think I am. I think that's two big points.
Every press conference has a teleprompter to start with. Every one of them. Trump does it too. Biden did it. Obama did it. Bush did it.
Okay, I've seen press conferences without a teleprompter.
Yeah, I haven't.
All right. But I don't think this was good for him because it wasn't. It's like, is it good for the Democratic Party what we just heard over the last hour?
Probably not.
It's if he had been really bad, that would have been good. Then they could move past Joe Biden and pick somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. But he was only
just gets him through the weekend at least, doesn't it?
It might, I guess. But, a question we're going to ask. After listening to this, you think he's going anywhere? He doesn't want to go anywhere.
He believes that he said it more than once. I want to say, don't make me go back and quote him individually.
I don't want to go back and listen to that again.
He believes he's the person. He was even asked that one question about being the bridge candidate.
Yeah.
When you ran 4 years ago, you said you were just going to do it for a little while. And he talked about finishing the job and needing to have another 4 years.
Right.
I mean, you could call it delusional.
I mean, listening to him speak, do you want to hear him speak in 2 years? Do you want to hear him do this again in 3 years?
Oh, I don't believe he's... I'm
I
certainly
don't
saying that.
I don't. I don't. It really is amazing. You know, when we were doing the War Room yesterday, we were off the air. I was talking to Chad, and I was talking to a couple other. We had Chuck, and we had Stacy, and I said, you know, I thought this election was going to be horrible. A year ago, when we found out that it was going to be these two,
Right.
and it just continues to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Really, on both sides, mostly Biden, but worse and worse and worse. And it's hard to believe that we're here.
I think
really is.
The expectations, almost like the debate. I don't know. I think expectations were higher for this than they were for the debate.
Expectations for the press conference?
Yeah, because the debate was such a disaster.
Right.
And I think he made it over those expectations. They're still low.
Yeah.
They're still low.
There wasn't a lot of specifics. And he said the word anyway about 1,000 times.
He would start a sentence like he was going to go tell some. It's almost like they told him, don't tell rambling stories because you're going to get lost. So he'd go, yeah, it reminds me of the time anyway.
And they moved on.
Don't, like something triggered and said, don't start because you're going to get lost halfway through and God only knows say what.
He just, he looks slow. He looks exhausted. He has zero energy. He's 81. It is 8:30 back there. Half hour past his bedtime.
I didn't think he looked tired
I thought he looked tired. I thought he sounded exhausted.
I think his voice just sounds like that now. Every time I hear him talk, he sounds like kind of raspy.
Yeah.
I think it's weird when he does the whisper thing.
It's very weird.
I find it weird.
But I'm not making fun of him because he's the president. But it seems like every sentence, every word, there's a battle between Biden's brain and Biden's mouth. And there's just not a connection. And in saying that, he can't make the case against Trump.
That's the biggest issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's really...
You're losing.
Yeah.
Objectively, how about this? Objectively, you're tied. You're losing in the states that it matters.
Yeah, you're losing.
How do you make the case for voters moving forward when let's say that's as good as you're going to do? That's your A+ game right there. We just heard.
I mean,
I don't know if that's enough.
Listen, you don't have to be Donald Trump who gets in front of people and rah stuff. Barack Obama was probably the best I've seen at doing it.
Yeah, Bill Clinton was pretty good at it.
Clinton was very
right?
good at doing it. You're not going to get that ever from Biden. But I think you've got to ask yourself this question. If you listen to any of that, does anyone listening to the press conference feel that he's up for the job? I think we're past that. I think we're mostly a no. There was a poll.
Again, I don't think it changes the narrative. I don't think the calls that he needs to get out of the way and turn it over to a new generation, I don't think this changes that.
67% of all Americans think Biden should step aside.
Yeah.
85% of Americans say Biden is too old for another term. It's an enormous number. You're just not going to win the election with a number like that. You're just not.
No. I mean, we even had some polling come out today. What was ABC or whatever? That they're effectively tied
nationally, which
doesn't mean anything. By the way, and for the Democrat to win, they need to be up almost 3 points to win per the Electoral College. Mm-hmm. So tying right now is losing.
I just can't imagine his numbers going up. I can only imagine his numbers going down because for 14 days, it's been bad. That's an understatement.
Without a doubt. 2 weeks of bad. This is the best thing, though, that has happened in the last 2 weeks.
And that's really sad.
And it wasn't great. Again, I'm not saying it still was when you look at the other things that have gone on.
Right.
Apparently, he has another interview, a sit-down interview with Lester Holt. And that's going to be taped sometime this weekend. Mm-hmm. And then I think Monday night we're going to get that. But that'll be that kind of one-on-one like the Stephanopoulos one. And who knows which Biden you get. And I think that's kind of the – if I hear you right, what I hear you saying is you don't know which Biden you're going to get when he walks out.
Oh, no, I know exactly what Biden I'm going to get.
It's going to be somewhere between a 0 and a 4, but it's going to be – you don't know which one.
What's the difference between a 0 and a 4? Not much. I mean, I expected kind of this Biden with maybe I didn't expect this. I put it this way. This press conference isn't the story, if you ask me.
Okay.
Here's the story, all right?
What's the story?
I'm going to play you 2 clips because this is what people will concentrate on. He's at NATO. He's at the NATO meetings. Everybody is there. and he is going to introduce President Zelensky from Ukraine, and this happened today.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
Wow. That's as bad as it gets, man. That's as bad. That's a horrific mistake. And then he said this during the press conference.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
Yeah,
I mean, speaking about Kamala Harris.
Well, we all know that. I know, but you can't.
No, I'm just saying.
You can't run for president if you can't get the names right. You can't do it.
Well, are you holding Trump to that standard?
Yes, he's terrible as well.
Oh, okay. I know. I'm just saying. He called his wife Melanie.
I mean, but again, we're not talking about Trump. The story right now is Biden.
I don't disagree. But everything you're saying, you're holding Biden to. I say, okay, great. Let's hold Trump to that same standard. He fails that also.
Yeah, he calls Biden Obama
all the time. He thinks he's running against Obama.
Nobody believes that he's doing it on purpose to be funny.
And he thought Nikki Haley was
right.
Nancy Pelosi.
I get it. And
he called his wife Mercedes and Melanie on 2 different occasions.
Yeah, but this is much worse. This is the president of the United States.
I'm not excusing it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, great, then let's hold them to the same standard because they're both disasters at that.
I think they're both disasters, but Biden is a bigger disaster right now.
His decline is much more obvious.
Yeah.
And his decline is, it appears to be more, I'll use the term more rapid. And anybody, again, who's had an aging parent maybe knows this, that they can kind of start a slow decline, but there's almost like a cliff that they can fall off of. And it goes from, around every single day, you don't notice it, to one day going, wow, now I notice it. And I think Biden's getting to the point, if he's not already the point where you say, wow, really notice it.
Well, there's a reason that the White House kept him, under wraps. He didn't do any of the Super Bowl interviews the last couple of years. It's the easiest interview to do. You get a bunch of softball questions, millions and millions of people watch, and he didn't want to do it. And there's a reason, because he can't. And so I think he also put out that debate and said, hey, this is the debate that I want. And he said, I want all these things. And Trump goes, fine.
Yeah,
and
the debate
I don't think Biden thought
dictated by Biden.
It was dictated by Biden. And I don't think Biden thought Trump would do it. And he's like, well, crap, now I got to go and be there. And I think we saw the real Biden. I don't buy the cold necessarily. I don't buy the 15.
Hubris that it's something yesterday on the War Room, Chuck Coughlin said something, and it's really stuck with me, honestly, because I guess I kind of always know it, but when you hear it from the inside, Chuck Coughlin worked for Senator McCain and candidate for President McCain. And he said, politicians, especially those at that level, they live in a bubble. And they surround themselves with people that tell them what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. And he even said Senator McCain didn't want to hear bad news. And so guess what? Nobody around him would tell him bad news. I bet Senator McCain thought he was winning the election right up until the night. Why? Nobody's going to tell him, guess what? This doesn't look good.
But what's the point? That just Joe Biden's getting
surrounded by people telling him you're doing great, you're doing awesome. Look at the job numbers. America needs you, etc.
Hey, then you're doing him a huge disservice, because he's going to get blown out in this election.
As of right now, you would, if the election were held today, it would be pretty much an electoral landslide.
Right. Yeah. So he can have his handlers, the people close to him, saying he's doing a great job. It's the eye test. We're all watching it. We're not stupid. The White House has hid this from us for well over a year. Even he said he's seen a neurologist. I think the next step is he's got to take a test. And he said he'd do it if people asked him, but he said, no one's asking. Dude, the whole world is asking.
He did whisper that part.
Everyone is asking you to take a test.
That weird whisper.
Take the test. Bruce, I'll just say, I think he's dropping out within days. Even from what I heard today. Yeah.
I think this gives him energy, life, oxygen to keep going.
Hey, if he wants to keep going, he'll lose to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's amazing that Democrats don't know when to get out. See Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Mm-hmm. See Joe Biden.
Well, it's like you want to, far be it from me to give advice to the Democrats. If you want to lose on principle, okay, but you're going to lose on principle. Yeah. If the principle is Joe Biden is our guy and we're going to ride him into the ground's coming up fast. The ground is coming up fast.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.